I'm pretty sure it was because it has dragons and maybe is also gay. Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and today I'm very excited to be bringing you my June TBR. If you've been around for the last year, I think I've only done it 1 year on YouTube, but I've been doing it for I think 3 or 4 years total now. I honestly can't remember. This is my Book a Day in June challenge TBR. This is a challenge that I set myself to read a book every single day for the month of June, or to read 30. I think it's 30. I should really remember how many days are in June by this point. 30. Or to read 30 books across the month of June. I typically tend to read a few books over the weekend to try and get ahead, that kind of thing. So I have pulled together a TBR based on my current TBR, because that's my main goal. I want to read down my TBR this month. I've picked 26 books that I know I'm going to try and read, largely because sometimes review copies come in unexpectedly. I know I have at least one coming next week, I think, that I would quite like to get to. And also there may be overlap from May, things that I didn't get to. Might be an audiobook or two that I just fancy picking up, who knows? This was originally a list of 27, and then I accidentally read the Seep yesterday, so there we go. I'm just going to rattle through these, I think, otherwise we're going to be here for a goodness knows how long. The first two things are very boring, but as you will know, I'm trying to read 2 Animorphs books every month, so I think, assuming that I manage to read an Animorphs book this week coming, we'll be reading Animorphs 23 and Animorphs 24. Those are fairly uninteresting kind of things because I talk about them in that series, but there you go, I'm going to be reading those. And then I have a whole bunch of NetGalley stuff that I would like to get to. I have 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and I'm going to look up what these are about because that feels sensible. I'm pretty sure this is everything on my NetGalley list, which is quite nice. So 6 Crimson Cranes is a princess in exile, 6 enchanted cranes, an unspeakable curse. It's a beautiful and immersive YA fantasy retelling of the Grimm brothers, the Six Swans fairy tale set in an East Asian inspired world, from the author of Spin the Dawn. I have read Spin the Dawn, and I think I've read Unravel the Dusk. That rings a bell. I'm pretty sure I did. I liked them well enough. I completely understood the criticism of the disability representation in the first book, or lack of. Yeah, I'm interested by this. Similar to The Goose Girl, I will probably familiarise myself with the story before I read the retelling. Thankfully, we do have a copy of the complete Grimm's Fairy Tales. You can't see it, but it is just here. That was from our wedding, so I shall be familiarising myself with that, and then we will get on with that. That sounds like a good time. I have A Strange and Brilliant Light by Eli Lee, a riveting, thought-provoking, speculative literary novel exploring the impact of the AI revolution through the eyes of 3 very different women. I like a book that explores AI, and I like a book that explores AI without just going, the AI is evil. And I don't know if that's what this will be, but I'm interested. Vigilantes break into the coffee shop and destroy their new coffee-making Aut, which is presumably an automaton. It sets in motion a chain of events that will put the 3 young women in very different directions. Change is coming, a change that will launch humankind into a new era. If they can find a way to combine their burgeoning talents, they might just end up setting the course of history. Also women in science, presumably. Excited for it. That's not out till July, so I'm just trying to get ahead a little bit. So then I have In the Watchful City, which looks fascinating. I think I mainly picked this up for the cover, but this is a multifaceted story of borders, power, diaspora, and transformation. A mysterious outsider enters the city carrying a cabinet of curiosities from around the world with a story attached to each item. Anima's world expands beyond the borders of Aura to places and possibilities they never before imagined to exist. But such knowledge leaves Anima with a question that throws into doubt their entire purpose. What good is a city if it can't protect its people? I'm reading from that we're going to have a gender non-conforming protagonist. I'm excited for it. I really like fantasy cities. You may have picked up on this. I'm interested to see how this one goes. I think it's also sometimes why I get very disappointed if the city is very cool but the book is not good. Reckoners series. I tend to not like those as much. Little Thieves by Margaret. Owen. I think this is another fairy tale retelling. They seem to be coming back with a vengeance. Vanya Smit knows that no gift is freely given, not even a mother's love, and she's on the hook for one hell of a debt. Vanya, the adopted daughter of death and the adopted goddaughter of death and fortune, was Princess Giselle's dutiful servant up until a year ago. That was when Vanya's otherworldly mothers demanded a terrible price for their care, and Vanya decided to steal her future back by stealing Giselle's life for herself. Oh, maybe not a retelling, maybe? It doesn't say specifically that it is, but it's fairy tale-y for sure. I don't know about this one. I think I mainly requested it because it sounded good in the email they sent me. We shall see. Very excited to be reading A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, which I got approved for months and months ago and then sort of just went, but I can't read it. What if I don't? So I'm finally picking that up because it's good to have some novellas on this list. If I remember correctly, it is a world where one day all of the robots just wandered off, and in this book we have a robot coming back and talking to a tea monk. So I'm excited to find out what that's all about and probably cry a lot. And then I'm actually approved for 2 editions of this, so I don't know how that's going to work for writing the review. So I have Shelley Parker Chan's She Who Became the Sun, which is Mulan Meets the Song of Achilles, a bold, queer and lyrical reimagining of the rise of the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty from an amazing new voice in literary fantasy. Yeah, I'm here for Mulan Meets the Song of Achilles. I like it. I like it a lot. I have heard some varied things about this, mostly good. I know there's one scene that people have brought up time and time again, probably because of the nature of that scene. If you know, you know. And I'm excited to read it. Maybe to read it twice. Who knows what I'm going to do with that. I will say I really like both covers, which doesn't happen that often. Normally I think one is ugly and one is not, but these are both very nice. I will put them both up. I think that's everything on my NetGalley shelf at the moment, which is nice. Then I have one Kindle book that I would like to get to. This is Half a Soul by, I can't remember her name now. I'm gonna go check on my Kindle. It's by Olivia Atwater, and it is a Regency fairy tale. It's difficult to find a husband in Regency England when you're a young lady with only half a soul. Somebody is cursed by a fairy. She has no sense of fear, embarrassment, or even happiness. Oh, Asha recommended this. She said it was lovely. I'm excited to read it. I haven't read Fae that I've enjoyed in quite some time, and I don't read a lot of romance, but Ash's recommendations are always fantastic, so I'm excited for that. Now we're on to the physical books, which I've piled up behind me, and I've just realised that I've probably piled them the wrong way round. So let's start at this end and move our way along, rather than this way, which was my original plan. I found Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is one of many books on this list that you will tell there has been an influence from some of the booktubers I watch. An escaped savior is offered a lucrative job to steal an ancient artefact from a heavily guarded warehouse, and instead of a way out of Tavan, she finds herself the target of a murderous conspiracy. Someone powerful wants the artefact and Sansia dead. She will need every ally and every ounce of wits at her disposal, because if her unknown enemy unlocks the artifact's secrets, the world and reality will never be the same. This sounds like a fun, adventure-y, fast-paced kind of thing. I'm excited for it. Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear, which I always get confused and think the book is by someone called Karen Memory. It happens. This is a kind of steampunk Jack the Ripper yarn. I don't know if it's specifically referencing Jack the Ripper, in which case a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't think it is. I think it's just like serial killery, maybe, because I don't always love when people reference Jack the Ripper because it was an actual thing that happened and lots of people actually died. But I'm here for a steampunk story, and this looked really cool. And I think, again, I think this was one that Asha told me I would like. I have a vague memory of this. Karen Memory, maybe? Next, I have The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. Yes, just Wizardry? Yes, by C.M. Waggoner. This was a gift from Justine, who said I would like this because it is adventuring gaze, and I am here for it. Again, a petty con artist, an occasional thief, and partly educated fire witch. I'm here for it. I really found myself falling into the trap of, it's not even a trap, I'm happy to be in the trap. I really like stories that feature a young, plucky thief. I think that's just probably from my deep, burning love of the Thief Lord as a child. It's just blossomed out into this. I should reread The Thief Lord. Not this month. I'm excited for it. Yes, it looks really good. I'm very, very hyped. I'm finally going to read TJ Klune's House in the Cerulean Sea. I'm nervous. I'm very excited. I know this is going to be absolutely lovely, and everyone said it's like reading a hug. I'm beyond excited for the story of like a caseworker going to a house which features magical youth in an orphanage. Yes, where the 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really good. Anything with found family. I know I'm going to love it. Ballet Shoes by Noel Stretfield. This is a book from my childhood, similar to The Thief Lord. This is just really lovely. If you haven't heard of this, it's like a really classic, I think it's English. I'm going to assume it's English. I don't actually know, but it's one of these like books that you read as a young child and you're like, oh my goodness. This is the dream. They get to do ballet on stage. They have arguments as sisters, especially as someone who didn't have any sisters, and just pure wish fulfillment for a young person. And I'm very excited to reread it and probably find bits of it deeply concerning, but also I just love this. I loved this. I've read it so many times. This and White Boots, which is another kind of that ilk. One of my favourites, and I'm just very excited to reread it again as an adult. We had, which one was it? That was Song of Achilles meets something else. She Who Became the Sun. It was like 5 minutes ago. But I actually have Song of Achilles, so maybe I'll read that first. This is by Madeline Miller. I think a lot of people know this. I've read her book Circe. I haven't read it in quite some time, but I remember enjoying it. And all I know about this is it makes a lot of people cry, so it'll probably make me cry as well. I'm a Greek mythology nerd. I wasn't ever a huge fan of the Iliad, but I'm excited to read this. I don't have much more to say on it because I think everyone's already read it, but I'm going to have feelings and I'm prepared for it. A Lonely World Where the People Are Blue. This is a indie pub, which I don't read a lot of indie stuff, but again, those Asha recommendations, they're just fantastic. This is a kind of space mystery with a PI in it kind of story, which I always enjoy. I don't know much about this. She's going to have to learn to be a real investigator if she's going to keep her job and her life, and there's a missing sister. I really like mysteries. I really like serialized mysteries, which I feel like this is. I don't actually know. I'm excited to get to it. It's going to be a good time, and it's not super long, which is perfect for this challenge. Another not too long book. This was actually on, Angela did a video of fantasy books that you should read that aren't too long, and it's a really good video, actually. Very, very much would recommend. I'll link it if I can. This is Redemption at Indigo by Karen Lord. This is my first ever Karen Lord. I'm very excited about it. This is kind of like a contemporary fairy tale, I think. I can't remember where it's drawing from. Inspired in part by Senegalese folktale. There you go. I'm very much looking forward to reading this and messaging Angela all of my thoughts and how much I'm loving it, or if I'm not loving it, pretending I loved it so that Angela doesn't disown me as a friend. Yeah, I've been hearing about this for so many months. I'm really, really excited to pick this up. There's quite a few things like that on this list. Just finally getting to read down all of this owned TBR. It's just good stuff. A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. This I am very much looking forward to. How many times can I say that in one video? This I bought because I think I'd loved Bryony and Roses so much and I wanted to see what else T. Kingfisher was publishing. A young wizard, she can't... Yes, her familiar is a sourdough starter and her magic only works on bread, which sounds heckin' wholesome, but also it's a murder mystery. Are we sensing a theme? Are we? Maybe. Again, I'm really looking forward to reading this. Maybe I'll make some bread and have a happy day of bread making and reading a book about bread. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it though. Yet another book that I can't believe I haven't already read, Cemetary Boys by Aiden Thomas. How have I let this go this long without me reading this? This is a wonderful LGBTQ+ book that I know a lot of people have read and loved. I'm very excited for it. Yeah, Driel has summoned a ghost and now he can't get rid of him. I just think this is fantastic. I don't want to go into knowing too many things because I quite like a mystery, deathy kind of book. I think this is going to be lovely. I've not got a huge amount of YA on this list, so I think it'll be really nice to have a kind of palate cleansery, comes highly recommended kind of YA book. I think this is really going to like tickle my fancy and hopefully be a good one to be able to recommend. Breaking Legacies is another book that was gifted to me off my wish list and I did not remember why I put it on there, but I'm pretty sure it was because it has dragons and maybe is also gay. Finding the princess is easy, deciding what to do in a conflicting mess of politics and emotions, not so much. I haven't looked much into it, but I think it should be a good time. It looks kind of long, which is nerve-wracking for this kind of challenge, but also I wanted to try and read a bit more indie stuff this year, and hopefully this challenge is gonna set me on the right path for that. Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorofor. I'm aware this is the first one in a series that I don't own the second one to. Whoops. But I really, really loved Remote Control. I thought that was fantastic, and I still haven't finished Binti, but I really liked the first one. So I'm excited to read this. I think this is actually technically middle grade, or kind of teen, but I think this is like a kind of like magical superpower-y kind of set in the modern day, I believe. I don't know a huge amount about this. I know it won a lot of awards, but I think it's going to be really fantastic. I think I have enough people I know who've read this who really liked it that I think I am too. I like Nnedi Okorofor's writing a lot. I sometimes don't get everything I want out of the world building, but I think that because this is going to be set in the real world, sort of, I think it should be fine. We shall see, we shall see. We're getting down to the last few now. Ninefox Gambit, again, Angela, you're everywhere in this TBR. This is by Yoon Lee, obviously. I really liked Phoenix Extravagant. I haven't read any of his other stuff. All I know about this is it's kind of very complicated sci-fi world building, and I fully expect that to go over my head. So I'm going to try and put this early on in the challenge before I'm totally burned out. I sometimes don't get burned out on this challenge, but just planning ahead is sensible, so I'm going to try and keep this early on. Broadly speaking, I'm not expecting to come out of this going like, this was the best book I've ever read, oh my goodness, just because I know how I am with sci-fi and complicated stuff. And then I quite like to have a bingeable series in my Book a Day in June TBR. I think last year I did the First Test Page Squire, Lady Knight, Tamora Pierce stuff. So this time I have Josie Jaffrey's, more indie stuff. I have her, is it Solace Invicti series. This is vampires. This is the books that come before the Gilded King series, which I have actually already read. So it'll be interesting reading them sort of out of order, but not really. I don't really know. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think this is like ancient Roman vampires. I'm not 100% sure. If the price of safety is slavery, would you bargain your life? I don't know, Josie. I'm gonna find out. So yeah, you can't see them, but those are my 26 picks for the month. As I say, some stuff left over from May, probably a few opportunities to be spontaneous, and probably an audiobook or two in there as well. Who knows? I'm not sure yet. What I do need to do is go through and see if any of these are on script so I can do some audiobooking, because it's nice to mix up formats. Fantastic. Are any of these on your TBR? I would say let's do a buddy read, but I'm going to be attempting to read them all one a day, so that feels like a non-sensible option for everyone, but if you would be keen to do that, let me know. What else are you planning on reading on June? Are you doing any reading challenges at the moment? Let me know. I know there's oodles of readathons happening at the moment. So many, it's just too overwhelming. I need a simple one where the prompt is just book, 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 book. I'm good. But let me know all of those things in the comments below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. I do put out vlogs every week, so you'll get to hear all of the updates about what's going on, and I have some exciting news that I can hopefully share soonish. I was hoping I'd be able to share it by this video, but I don't think it's not the time yet. So without further ado, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. I hung out with a cat yesterday. My eyes are a little bit swollen. You'll have to forgive me for my allergies. Show me all of my shelves. I need to check who it's by. Thank goodness for editing. Well, you'd have to watch all of this. I'm looking forward to it. No, I'm not. I am, but it looks very long, which is